Welcome to episode 97 of All About Fitness. Before I go into the introduction for this episode's guest, who I'm super stoked about, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to some of you who've written in. To Jeremy, man, I really appreciate what you wrote, and it's cool to hear you getting into that. And yeah, I owe you an email, and I'm going to get that to you. But I really want to say thank you for taking the time to write in, and thank you for that feedback. And to Denise, thank you as well. Jeremy and Denise both wrote in. Not only do they listen to the podcast, but I recently did a workshop for the American Council on Exercise, an online workshop on the kettlebell swing. So if I can find it, it should be up on YouTube. I actually will link to it down below in the show notes because it's a little bit relevant for today's guest. And on to the show. Today, it's really an honor to sit down. I've been a big fan of hers for a while, and we talk about that. So I was kind of fanboying out in the interview, and I was really stoked to get it with her. And the irony is she was on vacation when we spoke, so she was I caught her at a great time. But Molly Galbraith is one of these people who's really been changing the way that women interact with fitness. And she's been one of the leaders of the, strong is the new sexy movement. Molly helped found I guess it's an online community and blog called Girls Gone Strong. She's been a power lifter. She's done figure competitions. And one of the things that's most powerful about Molly, I think, and we talk about this in the interview today, is the fact that she's been very open about body acceptance. She made international news a few years ago when she posted a picture of herself in a bathing suit and talked about loving her body the way it is. Because for years, and we still get this shoved down our throats. The media, certain images out there, you got to look like this, you got to look like that. That's nonsense. Be who you are. Be comfortable in your body. Be comfortable in your instrument, as an acting coach would say, and use exercise to find that level of comfort and to enhance your confidence. That's what Molly and I talk about today. We talk about the role that strength training plays for everybody, not just women. But Molly has such a positive message about body acceptance and about being comfortable with who you are that really, this is an awesome interview. I know you guys are going to enjoy it. So after a brief word from the sponsor of All About Fitness, it is indeed an honor to have a conversation with Molly Galbraith, one of the founders of the Girls Gone Strong movement. What is part bench, part balance trainer, part stability ball, part jump box, and all results? The Terra Core by Vicore Fitness. Specially designed to help enhance balance, strength, agility, and metabolic conditioning, the Terra Core is quickly becoming the go-to piece of workout equipment used by fitness professionals around the world. Whether you're training to earn that 8-figure contract or just trying to get in better shape, the Terra Core will help you achieve results you never thought possible. Terra Core by Vicore Fitness, the shape of things to come. Go to www.vicorefitness.com and use code AAF, that's All About Fitness, AAF, to save 20% on the purchase of a Terra Core. I'm Pete McCall with All About Fitness, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Ms. Molly Galbraith. Molly, I should ask you this before. Did I pronounce your last name right?
It is actually Galbraith. So it's gal, like guy and gal, and then Brith, as if the second A doesn't exist. So to be honest, I think it's probably supposed to be like Galbraith, but we're from Kentucky, so we say Galbraith.
I should start asking that before I actually make the introduction, shouldn't I? But we'll just keep going with it.
It's good. It's good because you're actually, I'd say 80% of podcasts I do, people don't ask ahead of time. And so it's good because it's a good learning opportunity then for people, to hear how to say it. So Galbraith.
Okay, cool. And now, Molly, what do you do? What's your role? What position do you play or what do you do in the fitness industry?
Yeah, so we were chatting about this a little bit after or before the call, but I have been kind of in fitness or interested in fitness for almost 14 years now. So February of 2004 is kind of what kicked off my my personal health and fitness journey. And within about a year, I was starting to help other people online, a little bit in person, mostly friends and family. So I've been in fitness for 14 years. I have been helping, coaching, and training other people for 13 years now. And today I spend most of my time on Girls Gone Strong. And so Girls Gone Strong, I'm co-founder and quote unquote woman in charge at GGS. And Girls Gone Strong is a global movement of, almost 600,000 women from 70 countries around the world who are, in love with strength training. And what we do at Girls Gone Strong is we try to help women see all the possibilities for their lives and their bodies and give them the space to make the decisions that they want about their lives and their bodies, and then provide evidence-based, body-positive, sustainable information to help them get whatever goals and results that they're looking for. And then we also educate health and fitness professionals on how to better understand, connect with, serve, and empower their women clients and patients.
All right, interview done. All right, have a great time. No, I came across Girls Gone Strong, I want to say right around 2012, I believe. I was still working at the American Council on Exercise, and I have to say, Molly, I really love the concept. How did you, what was the brainstorm? How'd you come up with that name?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to be honest, I cannot take credit for coming up with the name Girls Gone Strong, but Girls Gone Strong started in 2011. So you caught us about a year after we began. And it started with a group of 7 women from all different areas of the fitness industry. And we got together because we wanted to have some community and get in a workout, which I know sounds kind of funny. It started with a really kind of simple goal. I was friends with a couple of the women who were the initial co-founders of GGS, and we were going to go watch a woman named Julia Ladusky, who's a powerlifter, fantastic powerlifter and physique athlete, strength and conditioning coach. We were going to watch her lift in a powerlifting meet. So myself and a woman named Jen Comis were going to go watch her lift at a powerlifting meet. And I got a tweet from another woman in the fitness industry named Allie McKee. And she said, it would be so fun if we could all get together and work out sometime. And I said, well, there's going to be a couple of us in Cincinnati at this powerlifting meet if you want to come and hang out with us, and we'll get in a workout together. So we sent an email, or I sent an email, I think, to a group of just over a dozen women. And it was about the same dozen women that had received an email from a guy you may have heard of once or twice named Brett Contreras. Brett sent a group of us an email, if I can backtrack about 3 or 4 months, 2011 spring, Brett Contreras sent myself and about 12 to 15 other women an email where we were all CC'd, and he said, hey, ladies, I think all of you all are really awesome. You're smart. You're talented. It's time that we have more women rise up in the world of strength and conditioning. Now you have each other's information. Do something awesome. And it was a really, really great sentiment that he reached out to all of us. So I reached out to all those women plus a couple more and said, hey, we're going to be getting together this weekend in Cincinnati watching Julia lift at a powerlifting meet. You guys should come. And 7 women showed up. And we had such a great time that weekend lifting and hanging out and talking shop and supporting Julia. The chemistry among us was so organic. We said, this is amazing. We're all passionate about helping women, discover the power of strength training. We can't let what happened this weekend die. We've got to do something with it. And so we decided to start something. We didn't even know what that something was going to be, but we knew that it was going to be all about preaching the gospel of strength training for women. I can't remember who in the group came up with the name, but somebody said, what do you guys think of Girls Gone Strong? And we all loved it instantly. And we even loved the play on the Girls Gone Wild thing is hey, that's not what women are doing. This is what women are doing. Women are, we're Girls Gone Strong. And so we came up with that name in 2011. We started a Facebook page. On day 1, we had 1,000 likes.
Wow.
Which is just unbelievable. Yeah, we had so much support from so many different people and we're like, okay, well, maybe this is something that the world is interested in. And it has certainly snowballed from there. I guess it's been 6.5 years since Girls Gone Strong started, and a whole lot has changed, but it didn't start with any grand idea of this is what it's going to be. It was just this needs to happen. The world needs what we're wanting to do, and we want to again preach the gospel of strength training for women. And if you think about it, 7 years ago, it's easy now to be like, oh yeah, strength training for women. if you're in this kind of industry, it seems really commonplace. But 6 and 7 years ago, we were so desperate for other women who strength trained that we flew from all over the world to get together for a weekend to work out. So it really wasn't as common as it is today. And even now, it's not. It's more common, but I would love to see even more women get into strength training if that's something they're interested in.
Well, and because when you started this in 2005, what was your initial interest? What you mentioned you're going to school for something else. What got you interested in fitness?
Yeah, so I was actually a competitive gymnast for 5 years growing up, which is hysterical because I'm almost 6 feet tall. And then I did that for 5 years, got to the point where I was doing it like 16 hours a week. It was just too much. So I backed off of that. I was a cheerleader for a couple of years in high school. And then at the end of high school and beginning of college, I got really sedentary. I gained quite a bit of weight. And it was February of 2004 that I decided I wanted to get in shape. And from my perspective, that meant that I wanted to lose some weight. I wanted to feel better. And I just really felt like at that point in my life, I was 19 years old. And I'm like, okay, I love school. I love my friends. I love my bosses. I love my professors. The one thing that I'm not happy with is how I look and how I feel. And I was like, that's what I have the most control over. I can't control other people in my life, but I can control what I eat, what I do with my body. So it initially started out, I just wanted to get in shape. So I hired a trainer. Worked with him for about 6 weeks, but I was a poor college student, so I couldn't afford to work with him much longer than that. And then about 8 months later, I started dating a trainer at the gym, which is significantly more economical. I will tell you that. He was into powerlifting and bodybuilding. So I was thrust into the world of extremely intense exercise very quickly. By 2005, I had competed in powerlifting. 2006, 7, and 8, I did figure. And then after my powerlifting meet, or after my last figure competition in 2008, I was feeling really, really ill. I had gained a significant amount of weight back, despite, eating what seemed to be in a maintenance calorie level. And I was feeling really physically depressed. I had a lot of fatigue. I remember my boyfriend at the time asked me to come upstairs and bring him a glass of water. And I remember thinking, how am I ever going to do that? How am I ever going to pull myself off the couch, walk all the way to the kitchen? I mean, it was just like I felt awful. So I went to the doctor. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune hypothyroidism. I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, and I was diagnosed with adrenal dysfunction. So there was a feedback loop issue between my brain and my adrenals. My doctor's hypothesis was that all of the stress that I had put my body through multiple times doing the really intense dieting for figure competitions may have been what the trigger that, so I was predisposed to getting those things, and then adding all of that stress might have been the trigger to flip the switch for the autoimmune disease. So I, at that point, was really, really upset because for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, I had been able to say, okay, this is how I'm going to change my diet. This is what I'm going to do in the gym. And these are the results that I'm going to get with my body. I had really been able to control what my body looked like. And I had become really used to and accustomed to and put a lot of my value and self-worth in the way that my body looked. And I remember thinking, okay, well, I can't be that super shredded fit girl anymore. So if I can't be that, then what can I do? I can get really, really strong. So I decided to go back into powerlifting. And I thought, well, okay, if I can't be super, super fit and shredded, then I'm going to be this super strong person. And what I didn't realize at the time was that I was just shifting the thing that I was putting my self-worth into, which was still external. So I did powerlifting in 2009, had a really good time doing that, played around with that for a little while. And then in 2012, I was feeling really good. My health was under control. I was getting stronger. I was really enjoying the process. And then my dad died unexpectedly. I found out he was sick on a Saturday, and he died on a Tuesday of pneumonia, which is, not common today for that to happen and for someone to go so quickly. And then about 2 weeks later, I injured my back at the gym, and that kicked off 2 years of chronic pain. And then a couple months after that, I left a 6-year relationship. So at that point, 2012 was a really difficult year for me. And believe it or not, my nutrition and training were not the most important thing to me. So I gained a bit of weight back. In 2013 rolled around, and I was back up just 1.5 pounds below my pre-fitness weight. So I weighed in 2004, I weighed 185 pounds. And 2013, I weighed 183.5 pounds. So that was really, really challenging for me. I remember I was visiting a fellow Girl Gone Strong, or two of them, in Baltimore in 2013, and I stepped on the scale and I saw 183 and a half pounds, and I had a breakdown. And I remember thinking, I have chronic pain. I can't lift the way that I used to. I'm only a pound and a half, away from where I was 9 years ago. I'm a failure. How do I, who am I to call myself a girl gone strong? Who am I to coach or train anyone? I co-owned a gym at that time. And I felt really, really terrible about myself. And so I spent some time really digging into what's important to me. Do I believe that my value and my worth as a person and as a trainer has to do with how I look? I was getting criticism online. People were leaving messages on my YouTube videos saying, why aren't you as lean as you used to be? I was getting criticism from people in my community. There was a woman who told other women not to go to my gym because they might look like me. And I was even getting it from fellow peers in the fitness industry. I had a colleague who we invited to speak at a seminar at our gym, stand in my gym, in my office, at my seminar, and insinuate to my staff that I was fat. At 5'11" and 183 and a half pounds, which it absolutely doesn't matter what I looked like, but that should never be said to anyone about anything. But the fact that the standards for what a fitness professional was supposed to look like in the fitness industry were so high that I had a colleague standing in my gym telling people that I was fat. It was just absurd. And at that point, I decided that, I was no longer going to put my self-worth in external factors like how much I could lift or the way that my body looked. And I was no longer going to let anybody else determine whether or not I was a good trainer, whether I was valuable, whether I was worthy, and that I just wasn't going to put up with that anymore. So that kickstarted a really important 5-year journey now to 2018 into no longer putting my self-worth into those external factors. And that's why I'm so passionate about the body positive work that we do at Girls Gone Strong. I'm really interested in helping women give themselves grace and compassion about the way that their body looks.
Well, I want to, that was wow. I mean, that was a lot there. And I appreciate your sharing that. And that's one of the main reasons, Molly, just your message that I've seen over the last few years is a reason why I really want to have you as a guest on the podcast. And I'm going to back up a little bit because the passing of your father must not have been easy. And combined with, you're dealing with a significant acute overtraining. And I actually just emailed you an article that I wrote on overtraining for fitness professionals because I did 3 case studies in that article on full-time fitness professionals, one who had almost the exact same thing you did in terms of adrenal fatigue, because as fitness pros, we get caught up in having to exercise all the time, especially if we start to train for a figure or like some sort of ascetic competition. Have you noticed, since you've been sharing this, have you heard stories from other people who've experienced the same thing?
In terms of their medical diagnosis after they do competitions, is that? Well,
just in terms of overall overtraining, this chronic, because I think this is a significant issue, especially for, I don't think there's really a gender involved, but I think especially for people in their 20s, is when they get into fitness, they get into it full speed, work out every day, sometimes 2 times a day. Part of it is to have that look and that kind of appearance. Do you think this is an issue that other fit pros deal with on a regular basis?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I hear from women in our community all the time who, like you said, get into fitness. Their kind of viewpoint on fitness is that there's one way to do it, and it's going to be super intense. It's going to be, like you said, 6 days a week, sometimes once or twice a day, hour and a half, 2 hours. And, what we know about overtraining is that we can only train as much as we have the capacity to recover from, right? So there are some people who can train 6 days a week for 2 hours a day or an hour and a half or 2 hours a day, but those people are also probably making training their full-time job and putting just as much effort, if not more, into recovery in terms of sleep and soft tissue work and, meditation and, spending a lot of time in a more parasympathetic dominant, nervous system dominant state. They're putting just as much effort into recovery as they are into their training. And most people don't have the time or the resources or the schedule to be able to do that. So I constantly see people jumping into fitness, working out in a really what I would consider extreme way, not taking as much time for recovery as they need, really kind of beating themselves into the ground, running themselves into the ground with their exercise, and not having any idea about the recovery side of the equation, and absolutely coming down, getting autoimmune diseases triggered, struggling with, their mood, struggling with depression, struggling with their appetite, struggling with hormone issues. I see that happen all the time. And I definitely think that having this kind of one size fits all, super extreme perspective on what it takes to be fit is a big part of that. I was actually looking at the Instagram feed of a woman who writes for GGS recently, and apparently a certain company that puts out fitness and workout DVDs has a new one called 80-Day Obsession. So they went from insanity, right, to obsession. Like, they're literally encouraging people to be obsessed with their workout and their nutrition in order to get the results that they're looking for. And it's just really unfortunate that that's what companies who have such a wide reach and so many resources to put into their marketing and advertising choose to make people think is what they need to do in order to get the results that they're looking for.
And that's been one of the hair in my hide for a number of years. And just one more thing to come back to your story a little bit, because you mentioned everything. You talk about your father, you talk about relationships. That's all stress load on the body. And the one thing, the one common theme I try to come back to with this podcast, Molly, is that exercise is additional stress on the body. So it's very important to, and this is primarily for consumers, but I just want people to be aware that you need to pay attention to the overall stress load in your body, because if you're overstressed at work, if you have a family situation like a loved one getting sick or a loved one, having something happen to them, you're not going to be able to maintain, a high workload in all areas of your life. How much have you changed your approach? I mean, because it sounds like you went from somebody who was always going full speed ahead, competition, train, and now I think, you're probably a little, I don't know, but it sounds like you take a little bit different viewpoint. How have you changed your point of view towards that workload and towards overall stress load in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a fantastic book on this by Robert Sapolsky called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And it talks about how our body struggles to differentiate different acute stressors, right? So like your body, it essentially is like your body doesn't really know the difference between running from a bear or, getting in a fight with your spouse or getting in a car wreck or, these different kind of stressors that our bodies go throughout the day. The body doesn't really know the difference. It has a similar kind of stress response. Well, the problem is that many of us are experiencing these acute stressors constantly, and they become chronic stressors. And so, like you said, if you're experiencing exercise, absolutely can be, specific forms of exercise can be additional stress to the body. There are certainly forms of movement or exercise that can be more restorative. We used to talk about it like a bank account, right? So if you're constantly pulling from your bank account, you're going to be bankrupt. So if you think about what are things that you can do that are going to be deposits into your bank account, things that you can do like good nutrition, making sure that you're getting enough calories, making sure that you're hydrated, making sure that you're getting enough sleep, some low intensity restorative exercise that keeps your heart rate in a below the 120 range can be really good. The 120 to 40 can also be good for cardiac output. But low intensity restorative exercise can be really nourishing. Spending time with friends and family is really nourishing. Having good experiences with community members can be nourishing. Social activities, laughing, like all of these things that you can think of that make you feel really good, that are really restorative, put a deposit in your physiological bank account. Then things that are going to be taking out of your bank account are not only going to be intense forms of exercise, but also fighting with your spouse, stress at work, not getting enough sleep, having a baby who's up crying all night. All of those things pull from your bank account, which is totally fine. You just have to make sure that you have enough of a buffer or reserve in that bank account that you have something to pull from. Otherwise, you're going to become physiologically bankrupt, and then you're not going to be able to recover from your training. So for me, having 2 years of chronic back pain to the point where bending over and tying my shoes oftentimes would put me in a lot of pain, gave me a lot of perspective and really had me slow down and change up my training quite a bit. And so today, I used to do, 6 days a week, sometimes 2 sessions a day, hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes of exercise. Now my workouts look a little bit more like 3 to 4 days a week of strength training. I usually do, a pretty solid warm up, and I do somewhere between 4 and 6 exercises. Train moderately heavy when I can, often train full body, but my workouts never really last, even with the warm up, longer than 45 to 60 minutes. And then I try to walk as often as I can. Sometimes I do some short cardio finishers, but I do quite a bit of walking. Sleep is probably the thing that I struggle with the most as a busy business owner and head of an organization where there's always more to do. It can be really, really challenging to get in bed. I've always been kind of a night owl, so can be challenging to get in bed. I always get enough sleep, but getting to bed early and getting up early has always been a little bit of a challenge for me. So that's the thing that I try to put some effort into. But my nutrition, make sure I eat enough protein, make sure I get in enough overall calories, getting plenty of fruits and vegetables, lots of water. I'm careful. I drink a lot of coffee, so I drink mostly decaf coffee, so I'm not overstimulating myself. And so, I just try to I try to get regular massages when I can, try to do some deep breathing first thing in the morning when I wait before I get out of bed and before I go to bed at night, and spend time with people that I care about and doing things that I enjoy. So that's how I add to my personal bank account, my physiological bank account on a regular basis, and then keep my training relatively short and smart, keep overall volume low, listen to my body, don't push myself too hard when I'm not feeling it, and listen to my body if it says that it needs a rest day.
And that's so important. And I think part of it, is as we mature, we get a little bit more, a number of things happen. I think we get a little more self-confident, we get a little more comfortable with ourselves, and I think we get in tune with the body. And I'll say this here, I'm totally with you on the sleep thing. Cognitively, I know the importance of sleep. I know the role of sleep, but I tend to be a night owl. Usually, my kids and my wife will go to bed relatively early, and I'll stay up and just get work done in the evening. And it's just sometimes get caught up in writing and stuff, and just, I get more productive at night. So I'll stay in touch with you on that, because I need to do better about getting to bed earlier, because I know how important sleep is. And it's really cool to hear you say it from the bank account point of view, because I think people have this idea about fitness where they need to do more instead of doing it smarter. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit and ask you about, how much do you think the media images of female bodies, how much do you think that drives women in the fitness industry? I'm not sure if I'm asking it right, but it really is. I get bothered by all the media images. The majority of the people in the fitness industry, consumers, tend to be a little bit older, yet a lot of product companies, a lot of health clubs tend to use young, slim, undersized females in their models. And I think that, and personally, I just find that distasteful, and I think that's the wrong image. How do you think that impacts the people that look at fitness from the outside?
Yeah, so I think that's actually one of the things that I'm most passionate about, and there's a lot of different kind of topics that I want to cover here. So when I say it's the thing that I'm most passionate about, I think the thing that I'm most passionate about is helping everyone understand that good health and fitness and self-care habits are for them. And I think that seeing that type of perspective in the media can really feel limiting to people who maybe don't identify with those types of images. And so what we know about the way that women view their bodies is that we know that the same-sex role model often has the biggest impact on the way that young girls feel about themselves, right? So that's most likely going to be their mother. And a lot of my good friends tell stories of how their moms used to always say, like, I'm so fat, I'm on a diet, I can't eat this is so bad. So we know that the women in young girls' lives that they spend the most time around are going to have the largest impact on kind of the way that young girls feel about themselves. And then as they get older and they're exposed to different media images and stuff, that has a huge impact as well. In fact, there was research done in 2007, the journal I can't remember the name of the journal, but what they did is they showed 81 women images of models, and then they showed them images. Well, they had them rate the way that they felt about themselves and their bodies. Then they either showed them images of models, or they showed them neutral images, like things that weren't of bodies. Every single woman who was showed images of models felt worse about themselves and ranked the way that they felt about themselves and their bodies lower than they did previously. And then there was no change in the women who were showed neutral images. So we know for certain that seeing these types of images has a negative impact on the way that people feel about themselves. The other challenging thing, like you said, is they're usually young, they're usually slim, they're usually already pretty fit or even underweight in some instances. They're also white. They're also able-bodied. They're also they don't have any visible physical disabilities. They also look like they have access to nice facilities. So we have an article on Girls Gone Strong from Dr. Larissa Mercado Lopez called "Who Gets to Be Fit?" And she says when you Google image, you search in Google fit woman, you see the exact image that you're talking about. They're young, they're white, they're able-bodied, they're super slim, they have one particular body type. They usually look like they have access to nice facilities and clothing. So there's a financial issue. And so there are so few people who actually check all of those boxes and who actually identify with the way that looks, that people start to feel like fitness is not for them. And so it's an incredible article. We've got a couple others on Girls Gone Strong from women of color who are saying, like, I never see fit women who look like me. Is fitness not for me? And Dr. Mercado Lopez talks about growing up in a family where she thought that fresh cherries, for example, were food for white people. And it had nothing to do with race, but because race is so profoundly intersected with class, her family couldn't afford those foods. So she grew up in a family where she didn't think certain healthy foods were for her. And so I think it's not only challenging for, for folks because the bodies are slim or might have an unattainable physical, like leanness level or body composition level, but it's challenging for anyone who doesn't check all of those boxes, right? And the women also always look really feminine. Well, what if you're, a woman who doesn't identify with that type of look? Like, is fitness for you? So I think it's really challenging to have such a narrow kind of definition of what a fit body looks like, because for some people, they feel like that it's never going to be for them. So then they don't even begin to adopt any of the healthy behaviors that might, benefit their overall health and well-being versus just this particular aesthetic that they're going for. Even things like telling someone to go outside of their house and go for a walk. What if they don't live in a neighborhood where going for a walk by themselves is a safe thing for them to do, right? So we're making fitness seem like it's only accessible to a really small number of people, when in fact there are things that everyone can do, that everyone has access to, different behaviors and self-care strategies that they can employ to improve their overall health without it being this one particular, body type or set of behaviors that might not be accessible to them.
Well, and I think that's one of the things I'm trying to do from my point of view, and from what I do with this podcast and other things, Molly, is I'm trying to get people to realize that fitness is about possibility. My tagline is fitness is having the ability to do what you want to do when you want to do it. It has, when you look up the definitions of fitness in various dictionaries, there's absolutely nothing to do with appearance. It's all about work capacity, workability. And that's one of the messages I love about Girls Gone Strong, because you're promoting that idea that, women can lift weights and women can be strong, and that's really where it's important, kind of be strong on the inside. And I say that as a father of two daughters, as someone who works in the fitness industry. My wife teaches classes part-time. She also works in law enforcement. So she has a very interesting, we have a very interesting exposure to our kids. But we're very conscious of the message we give to our girls. We always talk about exercise in terms of health. We talk about exercise, we're going to the gym to be healthy. We really try to watch what we say about, losing weight or whatever. And we've never met in person, but I call myself husky. I played rugby for years, and I'm solid. And I gave up on my I'm not the six-pack guy. And if you ever want some entertaining comments, I did a video with Randy Hetrick of TRX a few years ago on YouTube that's gotten a ton of hits, and there's some very flattering comments about my appearance on there. That Pete could stand to lose a few pounds, or Pete's looking a little fat and stuff. And I'm like, whatever, I don't care, because I know my ability, I know my strength, I know I can go out and do work. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I think that overall we need to change in this industry, because I see people making themselves miserable, Molly. I see people, I'm in my mid 40s. I see people in their 40s and 50s making themselves miserable, especially here in Southern California, because they're trying to achieve some ideal appearance. They're trying to achieve some media-fed image. You did something, 2 years ago, was it? That kind of created a lot of, you got a mention in People magazine because of it. What happened? What was that? And how did that, were you surprised by the response?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I love that kind of tagline that you were talking about, having the ability to do what you want to do when you want to do it. We are at Girls Gone Strong. We're working on our GGS1 certification for health and fitness professionals that tackles women. It's evidence-based, body positive, women-specific coaching, psychology, nutrition, training, and rest and recovery certification. And one of the I had just read the day before. I'm reviewing a lot of the content for it right now. And because we've got 16 different experts contributing to it. So I was reviewing another woman's chapter, and the quote about health says, having health and vitality means that we are available for life's challenges and undertakings. So we're available emotionally, we're available physically, we can take on these challenges and undertakings that life presents us. So I love that, because I felt like that was such a parallel to exactly what you were saying. But what you're talking about was just over 2 years ago. And I came up with the idea for that when I was walking down the beach in Costa Rica with my boyfriend. And I remember thinking, you know what? I want to do a photo of what my body looks like right now. And I don't want it to be a before photo. I don't want it to be an after photo. I just want it to be like, this is what my body looks like, and it's fine. And so he took that photo of me, and we had been traveling a bit, so I kind of forgot about it. And then on New Year's Day, 2016, I remember thinking, oh man, I haven't posted that photo yet. I need to post that. And so I started thinking, okay, what is my message here? What do I want to say? And so I started writing the caption for that message, and I sent it to, so I started writing the caption for the message, like, this is what my body looks like. This isn't a before picture. This isn't an after picture. And I remember thinking, what's the thing? What's the hook here? What's the most important message that I want to get across? And then I realized, holy crap, it's New Year's Day. And this is the first year in 12 years, or I guess even longer than that. It's the first year, and as long as I could remember, that I didn't have a resolution to change the way that my body looked. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, it's New Year's Day, and it didn't even occur to me to resolve to change something about my body. And that was so powerful for me. So I wrote that caption, and I sent it over to my editor to make sure that there were no, typos or whatever. And I posted it, and I was like, oh, this is, when you post something that you feel like has a powerful message, you kind of have somewhat of an expectation of how it's going to go, right? It's like, oh, this will probably do pretty well. And I posted it, and a couple minutes later, I hit refresh, and it was like 57 likes, or not even a couple minutes. It was like 30 seconds later, I hit refresh, and it was like 57 likes. Then it was like 157 likes. Then it was like 320 likes, and it had been like 4 minutes. And I was like, what is happening? And I kept hitting refresh, and it was getting to 1,000, 2,000. It's just like right before your very eyes, it's just going nuts. And so, so it ended up going, I think, probably the definition of the word viral. It reached almost 12 million people from my page alone. I have a friend that does stats for Media Reach, and he reached out to me and was like, just so you know, this has reached 464 million people worldwide. So it reached like almost 500 million people in all the different outlets. And it got picked up by Cosmo and People and the Today Show and all of these kinds of things. And it was interesting because I first of all, I had no idea that was going to happen. But the most interesting part, I think, were the responses that I started getting. So I started getting initially people in my community, right? So they were all very positive. Then friends of people in my community started commenting. And then the trolls came out who were like, you're disgusting, you're an embarrassment to women, you're fat, you need to lose 40 pounds, you eat too many carbs, or you need to stop eating carbs, all of these kinds of things. So for the most part, I started out getting really basically all positive messaging from people. And then things got really nasty when the world realized that there was a woman who actually said that she was okay with her body, which I think is just unbelievable. People were like,
atypical. I think people expect. People. Yeah, if you're working out, I think the expectation is, Molly, that you're working out to get thin. You're working out to get, and that's garbage. That's why I thought that was such a powerful message and such a positive thing that you did.
Well, what killed me was when I started getting, all of this kind of international attention. And I was like, holy cow, you all, it is literally international news that a woman is okay with her body. Like, what kind of world are we living in that it's like People magazine worthy for a woman to say, yeah, I actually like my body. I'm not interested in changing it. Literally international freaking news that a woman likes herself. So I thought that was really telling in so many ways. And yeah, I think that there is, I get comments like that all the time. Like, well, you look great. You don't have to work out. And it's like, well, that's not what working out is necessarily about for people. For me, it's about health. It's about longevity. It's about mental clarity. It's about, the ability, like you said, to do what I want, to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and be physically capable of participating in what life has to offer.
And that's what I want to challenge listeners to is, look at your fitness goals and take a hard look at them. Because if you're trying to lose that 5 pounds, you're trying to lose that 10 pounds, why? That's the question I ask sometimes. How is your life going to change if you lose 5 or 10 pounds? What's going to be different about your life?
For me, I really like to think of it, I think so many people have an all or nothing or like black or white perspective, like they're on their diet or they're off, they're good or they're bad, they're cheating or they're not cheating, whatever. And I really like to think of it for me as, kind of four perspectives. So I think about my health, I think about my performance, I think about my aesthetics, and I think about my lifestyle. And for me, when things are really good, and I'm feeling really good, it's when the four of those find a point that they can intersect, right? So, for example, when I went to Italy for a couple weeks with my family, I was not concerned about my aesthetics. I wasn't concerned about my performance. I was most concerned about my lifestyle, right? I wanted to enjoy myself when I was in Italy. That doesn't mean like throwing caution to the wind and never moving my body and, just like laying around eating pasta and drinking wine and eating gelato, because that doesn't actually feel good to me. But it was, I ate more gelato than I would normally eat. And I ate, just like basically whatever I wanted, but whatever I want is actually mostly protein and vegetables and a little bit of pasta, a little bit of pizza, a little bit of gelato. But I didn't think about, I have to get my workout in. I didn't think about, oh, should I be eating this gelato? It just didn't occur to me because in that moment, my lifestyle was most important. And so I sacrificed a little bit of health, a little bit of aesthetics, a little bit of performance, and that's totally fine. When I was diagnosed with PCOS and Hashimoto's and adrenal issues, my most important focus at that point in time was on my health. So my aesthetics, from my perspective, suffered a little bit. My performance suffered a little bit. My lifestyle suffered a little bit. I had to do some elimination diets and stuff, but that's because my health was prioritized. There are other times in my life when I've really wanted to, improve my performance when I was competing in powerlifting, for example. Well, my aesthetics, from my perspective, suffered a little bit. My health suffered a little bit because I pushed myself, past the brink of what would be considered physically healthy. And my lifestyle suffered a little bit because my training sessions were long. I was spending more time in the gym than normal. So for me, at this point in my life, what is most important is a balance of those four things. And I understand that when I have a balance of those, none of them are going to reign supreme. My body might not look the way that it would look if I was totally focused on aesthetics. My performance, I might not be as strong or as fast or as whatever as I would if I was focusing on that. But that's okay for me because what I like the most is a balance of those four. So that's kind of how I think about it. Like when I feel good, when things are balanced for me is when those four things kind of intersect.
That makes a lot of sense, and I like the way that you lay that out. I mean, in terms of, having a good portion of everything, and not getting too carried away. And that's one thing. I was talking about this on another interview with a guy named Jonathan Ross, where we're talking about people using exercise as kind of a self-punishment. Is that have you? I know I've been in that trap before, and I've tried. I think I've evolved away from that. Is that something that you found yourself doing previously, and you've gotten away from now?
Yeah, I think punishment, and I think the times that I engage in that were mostly punishment for things that I ate. Like, I had my cheat day yesterday, which means I have to really, crush myself in the gym. I've definitely done that some in the past. I certainly don't do that now. I think of exercise as a life-giving thing instead of something that's going to, kind of take away from my pleasure and enjoyment. So I have engaged in that behavior before. It's mostly been, like I said, quote unquote, punishing myself for things that I ate and thinking that I had to crush myself in the gym to make up for it or to earn what I was going to eat. I definitely see that a lot in women in our community and women that we've worked with in our coaching programs, that they think that exercise is a form of punishment, or that food is something that needs to be earned. And I think that's such a challenging perspective to have, because you feel like then exercise has a negative, like a negative association for you. It's something that you have to do, something that's punishing you, or something that you have to do in order to earn your food or feel good about yourself or your body. And I'm just, that's not a perspective that I think that's not what true health is, right? True health is not punishing ourselves with movement. Even if your body looks a certain way, or you can perform a certain way, or you're really proud of what you can do in the gym, if you're exercising as a form of punishment for yourself, and that's not true, holistic, well-rounded health, in my opinion.
No, not at all. And I think the other thing too is that people tend to use exercise is kind of like, I want to change this goal or achieve this goal. And what I'm really trying to get to in the message, one of the messages I want to put out with this podcast, is learn to enjoy the process of exercise. That's where it's like, I enjoy, Molly, I'm one of these people, I actually enjoy going to the gym and working out. I enjoy lifting. Some days I go a little bit harder than other, and some days I go a little bit easy. Some days I only do body weight stuff. But I just enjoy the atmosphere. I enjoy the camaraderie. And I've kind of stepped back and looked at it, and I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to achieve a certain look. I'm not trying to achieve a certain weight or anything. This is just for me. But I just enjoy the process because I feel healthier because of that. Do you think that's a message that we need to focus more on, of just helping people learn how to enjoy exercise, learn how to like the process? And if you want to go to the gym just to work out, that's fine. You don't need to have a goal. I think we put this false kind of expectation on people that if they exercise, they need to have some sort of goal.
Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting concept, because I read the article that you wrote about that, and I think the thing about the goal, because again, like I said, I've been reviewing this GGS 1 content, and I was reading chapter 4 on the psychology of well-being and resilience, and it was talking about the value of goal setting for humans. And I think the biggest issue comes in when the goals that we're used to people setting are things, like you said, that are maybe unhealthy for them, from like they're trying to set a particular aesthetic goal that's going to be unhealthy for them, either physiologically or psychologically or emotionally, or they're setting a goal to compete in a powerlifting meet and to crush this particular amount of weight. But I think that the goals that we can help our clients set that are maybe going to be more positive for them are, we're used to people setting outcome-based goals, right? Instead of thinking about behavior-based goals, or thinking about goals that are related to their overall wellness. So people are like, I want to lose 20 pounds. And it's like, okay, so what are the behaviors, for example, that might help you achieve that goal? Because we can't control the outcome. We can only control the behaviors that we engage in that might make that outcome more likely. Okay, so if we're looking at the goal of losing 20 pounds, well, there are things that you can change: your nutrition, you can change your exercise, you can change your sleep, you can change your stress management. Which one of those things do you feel comfortable tackling? Okay, so you're comfortable tackling nutrition right now. Perfect. So there are a lot of things that we can do. We can focus on eating more slowly. We can focus on tuning into our body. We can focus on stopping when we're, satisfied instead of overly full. We can focus on only eating when we're hungry. We can focus on adding a cup of vegetables to 3 of our meals a day. So I think that this kind of perspective that I think goals can be really healthy for people, but I think they have to be life-giving goals. I think they have to be realistic goals. I think they have to be goals that are based in, like I said, behavior instead of outcome. I think that they need to be, like, if someone's going to set a goal, it has to be a goal that they have some control over instead of an outcome-based goal. So I think that, teaching someone how to listen to their body enough that they're able to stop when they're satisfied instead of stuffed is a fantastic goal, because it's going to have positive effects on their body composition. It's going to have positive effects on their digestion. It's going to have positive effects psychologically for how they feel about themselves. So I think the challenging thing with goals is when we focus on goals that are outcome-based, goals that are only aesthetic, goals that are unrealistic, goals that leave us feeling like a failure all the time instead of feeling like we're building up positive momentum and successes. So I totally hear your perspective on helping people go to the gym and engage in activity because they enjoy it and because it's going to be beneficial for their long-term health. But I think that shifting our perspective on what goals are and continually reevaluating those goals with our clients can be really important. But I certainly don't think that all of our clients need to have goals that are like, I'm going to get 6-pack abs and squat 400 pounds, right?
Yeah. And that's just it. Is getting people to think about, changing the process, finding a class that you enjoy and doing it, but also finding balance. It doesn't mean go to cycling 6 days a week because you like cycling, or go to yoga 6 days a week because you like that. It really is a matter of balance. And I don't know about you, but I'm always surprised when I hear people say, this is what I'm going to do from now on. I'm going to do only yoga and powerlifting and eat a vegan plant-based diet. And it's like they feel they have to work in these absolutes. And that's where if I can wave a magic wand, it's like, you don't need to do that. I don't think we need to be so extreme in our fitness. How much work did you do? Any specific work to kind of get to this mindset, or is it just something that kind of you woke up one day and said, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm just going to focus on enjoying the process?
Yeah. So for me, it was continually getting punched in the face by life, right? So it was my dad dying. It was having chronic pain. It was being diagnosed with autoimmune illness and PCOS and all these things. So it was a slow evolution. So I started out working out because I wanted to get in shape, and then I was able to manipulate my aesthetics so easily for the first few years. So my first really getting my feet knocked out from under me was my diagnosis of Hashimoto's and PCOS. And so then I said, okay, so if I can't be the super lean, shredded girl, then I'm going to be the super strong girl. So then I competed in powerlifting. And so started putting evolved from caring so much and being so intense in terms of changing my aesthetics to wanting to put all of that into strength. So that for me was kind of like the move from like a 1.0 version to like a 2.0 version. So I was really focused on that. Well, then I, had some issues. I found out part of what I left out of my story was in 2010, I started working with some guys named Mike Robertson and Bill Hartman at Indianapolis Fitness and Sports Training in Indy. Worked with them for a couple years because apparently I had built a giant house of strength on a teeny tiny foundation. And Mike let me know that I had just deadlifted 341 pounds with my quads and my lower back. So I had worked with them for a couple of years to rebuild a foundation of strength. And that's when I started feeling really good, was getting stronger, kind of had to go back to zero at the beginning when I started working with them. But I started feeling really good, was getting stronger. And then 2012 is when my dad died. So when that happened and when I experienced chronic pain and wasn't able to train in that way as hard as I wanted to and as often as I wanted to, that was a real eye opener for me. And then it was 2013, kind of the aftermath, the results of what 2012 had brought, which was the death of my dad, the chronic pain, the loss of a business, and the loss of relationship. When I really realized I didn't really have control anymore, right? That life was going to come at me and that I was going to have to respond and adapt and react according to the experiences that I was having, that I just, that was when I made the decision, was spring of 2013, that I wasn't going to put my self-worth in those external factors anymore, that I wasn't going to let other people control how I felt about myself and my body, and that I wasn't willing to put my body through these really extreme measures anymore. At that point, I'd say, so I've been going to therapy for, 8 or 9 years now, and I'm really passionate about talking about it because I think mental health is stigmatized unnecessarily so much. People are afraid to talk about it. I've been going to therapy for 8 or 9 years now. So at that point, I've been going for 4 years probably. And that was really huge for me, was to have someone in my corner who was a sounding board, who only had my best interest at heart, who could help me work through some of the issues that I was having. And so I it was a slow evolution, but there was kind of a turning point for me where I said, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to put up with this anymore. Now I'm going to focus my time on taking care of myself, caring about my health, not pushing my body too hard, no longer caring what other people think or say about me or my body or my abilities. And yeah, that was kind of when I decided that I was going to focus on it, but it's certainly been a slow evolution over the last 8 or 9 years.
And just, I mean, that's powerful. And I love what you said about mental health, because I think that's something that we stigmatize, and we don't address it from a point of recognizing it and dealing with it. You know, I've dealt with depression over the years, and I think everybody, you know, the more we can talk about it and bring it out in the open, I think the less stigma we put on it, and the more it helps people seek help when they need help. You know, I've also dealt with addiction issues. You know, I'm in a 12-step program now, and you know, trust me, I don't mind sharing that, because if you ever saw me drink, it was pretty obvious I had a problem. But you know, so that's something that you know, I don't wear on my sleeve. But also at the same time, it's a serious issue that I know people deal with, and so, you know, I share about it from a point of just saying, hey, there are other people out there that have gone through that. And I think
it's nothing to be embarrassed about. You know, we seek massage therapy when we need it. We seek physical therapy when we need it. We seek occupational therapy when we need it. There's no reason not to seek some type of mental health therapy when we need it.
Well, and that's where the role of community comes in. And I need to be wrapping it up. I actually got to catch a flight before too terribly long. I'm heading to New York City for a few days. But you know, how important is the role of community? You know, as you've gone through this journey, I mean, you started GGS in 2011 or 2012, 2011, you said. And so that kind of happened. You were starting that as you're kind of going through this evolution. What role did community play, or how does that community kind of help this evolve in who you are today?
Yeah. So, you know, there's kind of different levels of community, right? There's like super close friends and family community. And then there's my community of the folks who came to my gym and other people in the fitness community. And then there's been this kind of like really people that I know in person, but I'm maybe not, you know, super close friends with. And then there's this kind of Girls Gone Strong community of hundreds of thousands of women that I've never met. For me, community's been huge. Another kind of quote that came from the GGS1 certification that I was just reviewing is challenge must be proportional to the support that we receive. So in order for us to be able to deal with and overcome and work through challenging things, we have to have support that's proportional to the challenges that we're experiencing in order to be able to overcome them. And I love that so much, because I think, you know, whether that's physical challenge, whether that's emotional challenge, whether that's mental challenge, we have to have support on the other side. And community, not only in my close friends and family, but also in the fitness industry, I've had a ton of support. And also in the GGS community, I've had an enormous amount of support. When my picture went viral a couple years ago, I literally had a couple 100,000 soldiers out there who were like ready to go to war for me and go to bat for me when people were saying negative things about my picture, which was just so meaningful, because not necessarily that I needed them to defend me, but it was so meaningful to hear them talk about how the work that I had done had been beneficial to them and had changed their lives. That was really, really special. And I think that, that support and community has been crucial for me as I go through my growth process. And I also think that going through this growth process and sharing what I've been through with my community has been beneficial to them as well.
Well, I think it just gives voice, because I am, you know, from my experience, there's always somebody else out there that's dealt with the same things, whether they've dealt with loss, whether they've dealt with, you know, disease, you know. And so to see somebody, that vicarious experience, Molly, of seeing somebody like you walk that path and come out and be where you are now, or be in the position you are now. I mean, it's tough to realize, but, you know, because you're going through your daily life, but that's really empowering to people. So how can you do online coaching and you drive the Girls Gone Strong community? How can people find out more information about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So girlsgonestrong.com is our website. So that's where you can find a lot more information about what we do. We publish 2 to 3 new articles every single week from a ton of different contributors. So there's lots of great information on there. You can find me and Girls Gone Strong on Instagram at The Girls Gone Strong and at the Molly Galbraith. Somebody had already taken Molly Galbraith and Girls Gone Strong, darn it. So we're the Molly Galbraith and the Girls Gone Strong on Instagram. You can also find us on Facebook. And if you are a health or fitness professional who's interested in learning more about the certifications, you can find out more at academy.girlsgonestrong.com. So lots of different places to find us, lots of different places to find the information that we put out, and places to connect with us on social media. We also, if you're a fitness enthusiast, have a couple of great Facebook groups. We've got one called Strong Women Lift Each Other Up, speaking of community and support, and we have one for moms and moms-to-be called Strong Mom Sisterhood, and one for health and fitness professionals called GGS Coaching and Training Women. If you're going to do one thing or connect with us in one way on social media, I can't recommend those private groups enough. I'm in there constantly. We've got great moderators. We've got great experts who are in there as well, answering questions and supporting the women in our community. And the one for health and fitness pros is co-ed, just so you all know. So that's men and women can join the GGS Coaching and Training Women closed Facebook group.
Cool. And, there's more stuff I want to get into with you, but I don't want to take up too much more of your time. It's been a fun conversation, Molly. I really enjoy it. And I really have just a tremendous amount of respect for what you're doing and the way that your community is changing fitness. Because 10 years ago, you very rarely saw a woman, lift a barbell in the gym. And now you see it, almost regularly. And you're one of the people. GGS is, when I get to know women and we lift at the same time, and I try not to give advice, but I'm like, hey, if you're looking for advice, you're looking for role models on women's strength training, I tell them to check out Girls Gone Strong, because I can't, as a guy, there's obviously whatever, I know a little bit about weightlifting, but I think it's so important that you have that community where you all are lifting each other up and creating your own way.
Well, thank you so much, Pete. I so appreciate you having me on, and I so appreciate your support of me and Girls Gone Strong, because we can put out great information all day long, but unless we have folks like you who are helping us spread the word, then we can't get the information to the people who need it. So I really appreciate your support. I really appreciate you having me on, and thank you for what you're doing in the industry. I can tell that you have a huge impact on your clients and the folks in your community, and helping them achieve the health and vitality that they're looking for, so that they can do what they want to do when they want to do it. So I really appreciate all the work that you do as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Well, that was a killer interview. I mean, it was fun. It was fun to have that conversation with Molly. As I mentioned in the intro, I've been a fan of hers, and I'm a real big fan of what she's doing. And, of having, one of the reasons why I wanted to have her, and Artemis and a couple other, women on here who are in the strength game is because it can change people's lives. And weightlifting, fitness isn't just about how you look. Fitness is just about feeling confident in your own skin. If you're working out, if you're working out regularly, whether you run, cycle, swim, whatever, if you're working out regularly and you're doing stuff, you have the ability, you have that confidence to know that you can do stuff. If you're doing Zumba, you can go out and have fun and dance. If you're an avid cyclist, you can go out for a fun weekend ride. If you lift weights, you have the confidence to know that you're strong. You can pick up heavy stuff. And that's really important. Fitness is a lot of things. It can be a lot of different things for different people. And it's interesting to hear Molly's journey from doing, figure competitions or doing bathing suit competitions, bikini, to getting into powerlifting. That's a huge shift. Those are completely different ends of the spectrum. And to deal with, having, being overtrained, that's a big thing that a lot of instructors go through. A lot of, fitness instructors, personal trainers go through that. I've been through that. Because when you're working in the industry, when you're working as a trainer, as an instructor, sometimes you think I need to work out all the time. You do work out 2 times a day. There are periods of time where I would teach a few classes a day, and I do workouts in 2 or 3 of those classes, as well as my own workouts. Now that I'm a little bit older, I'm also a little bit wiser. I try to coach a little bit more as opposed to doing a little bit more. And you're starting to see that shift in the industry too, right? There's group fitness formats have changed. It's not so much follow the leader like it used to be in dance and step classes, but you have people putting out circuits and everything in coaching. But it's fun to talk with somebody about Molly and how they're changing this perspective. And one of the things I think is really impressive is, what she's done with Girls Gone Strong, of creating a community of like-minded women, of women who like to lift, of women who like to do things. Because I think that's one of the most important things about fitness. I think it's one of the most important things about exercise is it brings people together. If you like to lift, you can go find a group of people who like to do the same thing. If you like, cycling, you can go join. Heck, I live in North County, San Diego. And man, on the weekends, sometimes it looks like a freaking cycling race going on. You see big groups of riders, anywhere from 10 to 50 riders together doing a weekend ride. You can find your tribe. Seth Godin talks about the tribe, about being with like-minded people. And I think that's one of the most important things that fitness does is fitness brings people together. Whether you're doing it in real life, if you're going to a studio and you go to a CrossFit box, you enjoy CrossFit 4 or 5 days a week. 80% of it's the workout, 20% of it is the community. Heck, it's probably a 50-50 split. That's one of the things I enjoy about teaching group fitness. You see that community develop. You get to foster that sense of community. You get to see people coming together. You get to see friendships and relationships form. And that's really powerful. And I think we forget about that in that context. That fitness, one of the most powerful aspects of fitness is it brings people together and it joins people. And I know that most of my friends that I've met, including my wife, most of my friends that I've met and developed good relationships with have been through the gym, or been through health clubs I've been a member of. That's how I connect with people. I don't know, it doesn't matter about how much weight they can do, whatever. That's really not important, but it's about coming together, having fun. And sometimes it is about challenging. You see a friend lift, you want to lift a little bit more. You want to be able to do that. I wanted to have Molly on here because I wanted to have her talk about the benefits of strength training for women. I know that. And it's funny, you've heard the term mansplaining. When I run into a woman, that's not the right way. Once I develop a relationship, once I develop a rapport at a health club, one of the health clubs I'm working in or working out in, once I get to know, kind of like the, hey, how you doing? Because we're lifting at the same time or, we're sharing the same equipment. Whenever I talk to a woman who's lifting weights and barbells and kettlebells in the gym, I usually refer them to people like Molly or Artemis and say, hey, did you know there are others like you? That there's a community out there. You can go to Jen Sinkler, you can go to Artemis and go to Molly, Girls Gone Strong, and see and interact with other women who like to lift heavy stuff. Because as a guy, I can relate to it a little bit, but I'm not there to tell them. I don't want to tell them what to do. Some people I know are stronger than me. Artemis is stronger than me right now. That's all good, but I can still get that idea. And so that's what I try to do. I try to point people to that community so they can do other things with other people. And that's why I think it's important that, we use social media. I think Molly's been very good about using social media. And I think her blog post about being comfortable in her own body is one of the most important things that's happened to fitness in the past few years. Because appearance is whatever, but the most important thing is being comfortable in your own skin. Are you comfortable in your own skin? Do you exercise for the outcome, or do you exercise because you enjoy the process? And if you look at exercise as a way to bring people together, then we're exercising as part of the process. We're enjoying what we're doing. We're enjoying the process of it. And in my opinion, that's one of the most important things about why we should be working out is to have that like-minded community and just to do something a little bit healthier. Hey, if nothing else happens in the day, if nothing else in your day goes right, your boss gets down on you, you get in a little argument with your significant other, the one thing you can do right is go into the gym and, crush some weight. Is overcome that deadlift. Not to tell you, man, that some days if a day's, not going your way, that workout really can change things around. Doing something positive can really have an effect on it. I'm going to have the information about how to follow Molly and how to connect Molly down below. Hopefully you can follow that and get some encouragement for that. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is Pete McCall. That's Pete, MCCALL, _fitness at Instagram. On Twitter, Pete MC _fitness. And also for this show, I'm also going to link down below to a couple of things I've written on women in strength training for the American Council on Exercise. I've written a blog and I've written an article on it. And some of the stuff, just so you know, some of the stuff I've written for ACE is for fitness professionals, but it doesn't matter. You can still read it and still get something out of it. Thanks for stopping by All About Fitness, and I look forward to having you join me for future episodes.